So, you've just gotten your first board and you have no idea where to start. You don't want to jump the gun and just go straight into learning advanced tricks. What you need to do first is get comfortable on your board. So in this video, we're going to go over the first 6 things that you need to learn in order to get comfortable maneuvering and riding around on your board. Let's get to it. The first thing that we're going to go over is finding the right stance that fits you the best.
Your stance is how you would stand on the board normally. There are 2 different main stances in skateboarding, regular and goofy. Regular stance is with your right foot on the tail and your left foot towards the nose, usually somewhere on or near the front bolts. Goofy stance is the opposite. Your left foot goes on the tail and your right foot is towards the nose, near the bolts. This part can be difficult for some and it varies from person to person. The best way I know how to find the stance you feel is the best for you is to try them both out. Try out each stance and roll around for a while and see which one feels the most comfortable to you. You can always change your mind later on, but I recommend making a decision early and sticking to it.
Now that you know how to figure out what your stance is going to be, let's move on to the next task, adjusting your trucks.
Your trucks drastically affect your mobility on your skateboard. You can make your trucks more loose for more mobility and a little less stability, or make them tight for less mobility but a little bit more stability. There isn't a right or wrong way to set your trucks. It's a deeply personal choice, and you may find yourself changing how you like them as time goes on. Spend some time trying out different tightness and looseness in order to find what you are most comfortable with. When beginning skateboarding, I have found that it may be easier to start with the trucks a little bit tighter at first and loosen them more as you get more comfortable riding. You can use a skate tool, a socket wrench, or vice grips to loosen or tighten your trucks. To tighten them, rotate your tool clockwise. To loosen them, rotate your tool counterclockwise. Be careful about how far you loosen or tighten them. If it's too tight, your bushings may start to break apart. If they're too loose, your axle could fall off.
Now that you know how to get your truck set right, let's move on to the next thing. And that's going to be how to maintain balance while standing still on your board.
If you can't ride while moving very well yet, you need to practice standing on your board while remaining stationary. A good way to work on your balance is to find something to hold onto while standing on your board. You can use a wall, a fence, or a friend to hold onto. While holding onto something, place your feet into the stance you've picked, or take this time to try out different stances. And try to stay above the board without falling off. Experiment with moving around. Try pivoting off the back wheels, pivoting off the front wheels, and tilting your board from side to side. Just move around a lot and get comfortable. As you become more comfortable, take a hand off the object you're holding onto and keep practicing. Eventually, work your way to getting comfortable with no hands.
Now that we know how to stand on the board correctly, it's time to start moving around. But how do we get the board moving?
There are 3 different ways to get moving on your board: dragging your board and jumping onto it, pivoting quickly from left to right, and pushing. We're going to go over pushing for this video. Pushing is when you take your back foot off of the board, place it onto the ground, and push back onto the ground to get the board moving forward. When you take your back foot off the board, you want to keep your weight mostly on the front foot. Bend your front knee slightly while pushing. Start with small pushes and moving slowly. When you get comfortable doing that, you can work your way up to much larger pushes and higher speeds. This will take a lot of practice to get used to, so don't get too frustrated if it takes a while to get down.
Now that we know how to get the board moving, let's learn how to maintain our balance while we're moving.
Once you're moving, now you've got to stay on the board. We're going to start with just moving in one direction. To move in a straight line, you need to keep your shoulders above your feet and don't rotate your torso. To look where you are going, you can rotate your head, but make sure you keep your torso straight. Practice moving your head back and forth from looking at your feet to looking at the direction you are moving, and then back to your feet without moving your torso. This will help you be aware of seeing how your feet are placed, what objects are nearby, and also seeing what you're headed towards. Also, keep your knees slightly bent so you can balance your body weight better.
Now we know how to get the board moving, how to go forward. Now the last tip, how to turn.
There are 2 main ways to turn on your board: leaning and kick turns. Leaning is the easiest way to turn and best for making wide turns. In order to lean turn, you need to apply pressure on either side of the board to get the trucks to pivot. To turn backside, put pressure on your toes. To turn front side, put pressure on your heels. How tight you turn depends on how loose your trucks are. If your trucks are loose, you can make tighter turns. If your trucks are tight, you'll make wider turns. Make sure you lean your body in the direction you are rotating. If you don't lean, your board will turn, but you won't, and could end in some nasty falls. The second way is kick turning or pivoting. Kick turning is when you rotate with your back wheels on the ground. To do this, you need to apply pressure to the tail of the board and move your front foot to the left or right to guide the board into the direction you want to rotate. This will take some practice to learn how to balance them correctly and get the timing down. And just like lean turning, you need to lean into the direction you are rotating. Don't lean too hard or not enough, because this can also lead to some nasty falls.
Speaking of falls, how in the world can you fall safely? Well, there's actually a ton of different kinds of falls that you can do to minimize injury, and we're going to be going over that in the next video. So make sure you subscribe to the Ramptech TV YouTube channel and hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. And until next time, skate hard.